So our next topic in the show, guys, is talking about StarCraft 3 and the possibility, obviously, that we've been talking about StarCraft 3 now for a while on the YouTube channel, right? We've been talking about different ways in which we might be able to see a StarCraft 3 in the near future. We've been talking about, I guess what you could say, the developers themselves over at Blizzard who work on StarCraft 2 would be open and would want to make a StarCraft 3. But obviously, all those things come down to the community. And here's my thought, guys. The question I'm going to propose to all of you is, will StarCraft 3 get announced this year? Okay, so will we see it announced this year? Well, let's talk about that, because I think that a lot is weighing, a lot is on the line when it comes to StarCraft 3. And I really just think, the StarCraft IP in general, right? I think the longer that we go without seeing a sequel to StarCraft, the longer or the more possibility there is that they will, stop the WCS circuit, that they'll stop all esports related things within StarCraft. I just think that there's a chance of that. The support of StarCraft may end if we don't see a StarCraft 3 announced at some point in the future. So here's what I'm going to say about that. I have preached and explained on this channel why a StarCraft 3 needs to be echoed into existence by us here at the community, here in the StarCraft community. We as a community, though, need to kind of keep an open mind, obviously, for StarCraft 3. And I think that there's a good chance, guys, that StarCraft 3 may very well get announced this year. And here's why. If you think about it, there has been two, not one, but two StarCraft games that have been canceled, right? That they were working on. Both were FPS shooters or FPS games within the StarCraft universe. One was called StarCraft Ghost. The other was an untitled StarCraft first-person shooter game that got canceled. I believe it was early 2019. But nonetheless, what that tells me one big thing. And that is that they still want to make StarCraft stuff. It may not necessarily be a real-time strategy necessarily, but they want to continue sticking with things within the StarCraft universe. So, number one is they're obviously trying to work on stuff within StarCraft and the StarCraft community. And that is obvious because there have been two canceled first-person shooter StarCraft games that have been made. Or were being developed and then they were canceled. So obviously there is a big, there's probably a want over at Blizzard for something, to continue the StarCraft universe. Number two is this. We as as the community, right? When we look at, when you look at just the landscape of esports and all of that, right? There really hasn't been that many real-time strategy games that have come out, right? I mean, if you really think about it, I know Age of Empires was announced and, a number, there's always, real-time strategy games that have come out, but Blizzard owns real-time strategies. I mean, they are like, they own that space. So you got a Warcraft 4 that could be announced. You could have a StarCraft 3 announced to continue, the success of real-time strategies, because there's still an audience for it. There is still a big audience for it. Sure, it's not like the size of a third-person shooter or a first-person shooter, but the idea, though, is that moving as we're continuing, the over the years and the progress of esports, the progress of gaming, I think that people may come back around to real-time strategies if they're made continuously. The next thing, though, is the timeline. So between StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, you had about 10 years. StarCraft 2 to now, you've basically had, you're on the 10th year, about the, that 11th year. Now, if you want to base it around when Legacy of the Void came out, Legacy of the Void came out in, I believe, 2015. So you're looking at, we're about, 5 years now, which is only half of, obviously 10. But at the same time, it seems like there's a new StarCraft every, 10 years, at least at this point. So we're due for a StarCraft, or at least a StarCraft 2 expansion. But I believe, guys, that the reason in which a StarCraft 3 needs to get announced, and I believe it will get announced this year, is because of, the history of StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2, of course, was kind of like the pioneer in esports, but at the same time, it also was the kind of the beginning of that, the match fixing scandal, which really hurt the StarCraft scene. A StarCraft 3 would be a new beginning almost for StarCraft. It would be kind of, clean slate essentially. So I think that a StarCraft 3 needs to be echoed into existence. I think that we're building momentum, though. I think there's more people that are saying, hey, yeah, a StarCraft 3 is a great idea. We would love to see this. I've gotten a lot of backlash over the course of time that I've been making these StarCraft 3 videos. Just people saying that, no, we don't need it. StarCraft 2 is fine. And I'm not saying that it's not fine. I love StarCraft 2. It's one of the greatest games all time. I got posters of it. I play it. I mean, it is a great game, guys. It's a great game. But let's take a leap of faith here. Let's take a leap of faith in Blizzard, right? Like a company that still's got it. As far as from a graphic standpoint, Diablo 4 looks incredible. I mean, amongst the other games, World of Warcraft Shadowlands and even Overwatch 2. I mean, look. They still got it as far as that's concerned. The story of StarCraft was never, the strong point of StarCraft. It was always the gameplay. It was always, the multiplayer and such, which has been supported this day in StarCraft 2. Imagine updated graphics. Imagine even a better story. Imagine, just a continuation of the real-time strategy genre in StarCraft. Because a lot of people thought, oh, dude, StarCraft 2 is not going to be as good as StarCraft 1. And some people, thought that StarCraft 1 was better, even to this day. But StarCraft 2, better graphics. A lot of different ways in which I believe StarCraft 2 was better than StarCraft 1. Not taking anything away from the original StarCraft, even though I thought it was, great and it was very transcending for its time. But it's time. I believe it's time that StarCraft gets announced. Do I think it's going to be this year? I think there's a chance. I do. I really believe that there's a chance, kind of building off of the 2019 BlizzCon. They announced so much stuff. I'm hoping we see something with StarCraft, even if it's just, give us something. Give us, obviously I don't, if you're going to announce a mobile game for StarCraft, at least announce that there's going to be a StarCraft 3 as well as the mobile game, right? Give us something that we can see that's the continuation of the story, the continuation of the StarCraft lore, continuation of the esports scene in StarCraft, because we want to see these things continue, but at the same time, I just don't know how much longer they're going to go in StarCraft 2. StarCraft 2 doesn't have that, staying power like League of Legends. They say they're never going to make a League of Legends 2. They're always going to stick with just League of Legends. But that has that, League was a game that obviously, it's just been built over time, and there's no need for a League of Legends 2. But I believe that there is a need for StarCraft 3 because of the shaky history of StarCraft 2. StarCraft 3 would be that clean slate. It would be everything that we might want to know. And even if it's not good, let's just say it's not a good game, okay? We can always go back to StarCraft 2 because it's always going to be there. So I just think let's take a leap of faith here. Let's take a leap of faith with StarCraft 3 and see what Blizzard can really come up with. But like the developers said, and I've made many videos on this, that the developers want to make a StarCraft 3. They want to make it, but it's up to us as a community to voice that we want a StarCraft 3. So we got to start doing that, guys. Let's echo StarCraft 3 into existence.